it's one of the worst things you could do, I feel like, and I hear so many people start investing in apps, investing in retention, investing in a lot of things that I don't think matter too much until you can take $1 out of someone's wallet. That app gets about 3,500 downloads a week at 7% conversion rate at a $40 LTV, which is about 800K in ARR. And I'm going to talk about is proof of pay and what we do in order to, validate that an app is ready for the next level. You had to build an app, right? And that took a lot of time, a lot of money. You had to build a lot of creative. That took a lot of time, a lot of money, right? You had to optimize your app store. But now with AI, there's no excuse. Bottlenecks were time, engineering, all that money. All the bottlenecks are gone.
Validating whether a mobile app is worth building used to cost $30,000 to $40,000 and take months. The guy you're about to hear from now does it for $200 in 24 hours. Almost everyone builds in the wrong order. They pour money into retention, polish, onboarding, paid ads, making the app good before they've proven a single stranger will actually pay for it. And they find out 6 months and tens of thousands of dollars later that the conversion was never there. There's a name for fixing this and a way to do it cheaply that didn't exist 2 years ago.
Look at yourself in the mirror and say, have I done proof of pay, right? Have I got enough people to pay $5 for my app?
The three things that made validation slow and expensive, engineering time, build cost, creative production, are basically gone. AI builds the app in a day, generates the screenshots, spins up the ad creatives, and you can even now test your ads against synthetic customers, which are AI personas built from your own data, before you spend a single dollar on the real ones. This is a conversation from the MAU conference where Christopher Bick shared how AI experiments are changing the app growth cycle. Let's dive in.
Hey everyone, good to see you here. We have Chris here, who runs mobile application for more than 13 years and growing despite all the challenges and changes we've seen over the last years. And we're going to be talking about AI today, and not just the general use of AI, but some practical things that we did and Chris did. So hopefully it's going to be very useful and you can take some actions right after the conversation.
Thanks, Shir. So like you said, we've been luckily to be in this app business for 13 years. And, we've tried all kinds of ways to validate apps before we start, really investing in the UA, right? And what we're doing now is really proof of pay, right? What I'm going to talk about is proof of pay and what we do in order to, validate that an app is ready for the next level. It's one of the worst things you could do, I feel like, and I hear so many people start investing in apps, investing in retention, investing in a lot of things that I don't think matter too much until you can take $1 out of someone's wallet, right? And that could be $5.99, that could be $9.99. And it's not just taking, $1 for one person. It has to be at some kind of volume, right? You got to go 15%, 20%, in order to really know that this app has potential, right? So that's the starting of where we start.
So how much time, how much money did you spend before on validating this proof of purchase, and how did AI change it? And what specifically do you do now with AI to improve this process?
Yeah, so AI has really helped us with speeding up, obviously, everything in this whole process of the funnel to get to the paywall, to get to the point where people are asking people for money. So, what we do is we come up with what we call stories, right? You need to tell a story, and the story needs to be very basic, right? You don't need to tell a very elaborate story, right? But have multiple stories, because your first story might not work, right? And before it was very hard to kind of pivot, right? You had to build an app, right? And that took a lot of time, a lot of money. You had to build a lot of creative. That took a lot of time, a lot of money, right? You had to optimize your app store. But now with AI, there's no excuse not to, get the proof of pay and test different angles. Like, you can take a running app, right? You could say, I run a 10K, 5K, a marathon, running challenges, right? There's all these different stories you can tell to figure out what is the best angle, and then and continue to invest in that app. And, what we did, we spent a lot of money before. It's cut down a lot. Even this last iteration of this app we have, we have
so maybe you can tell a little bit about the app and the idea and how you test it.
Yeah. So the most recent app it is an AI Bible app. And what we did is we started a price at $4.99, and we created a very simple funnel all the way from the UA and using Apple search ads. And we had a mix of high intent keywords, and then use those high intent keywords, put them in a discovery campaign, right? And we brought people all the way through onboarding, UA to the paywall, and we just charged $4.99. We're like, if we can get 15 or 20% of these people to pay $4.99, we have something. Plus, we have 10 other apps where we can look at the model and say, hey, if there's some apps here we can compare against, these apps are making, $500K ARR. And okay, let's go, right? So that's kind of what we did right now is we found the angle, we found the percentages with the spend. It was a little more spend that we wanted to spend, but we got there. I'd rather spend that money now and then know 6 months down the road that we're just investing in something that never going to have a chance because the conversion rates just aren't there.
Yeah. So basically you build the app with an AI very quickly. Is that correct? And then launch several ad campaigns to see which angle performs best and iterate on that.
Yeah. AI, everything. We're 100% invested in AI. AI creatives from Meta. We work with an agency that's doing an amazing job with AI creatives right now for Meta. And Meta is back. I don't know if you guys know, but it seems to me like it's before the whole privacy issues. Their attribution is spot on. We're only losing about 10% of installs from attribution. So we invested in that. And then we have a plug-in skill with Claude Code that our engineering team, it's a one-shot code generation for apps and for future iterations. And basically you just go into Claude or something, you tell it what you want, you tell them your stories, you tell them your 6 stories. And then we plug that into our plugin for Claude Code. We said, generate this app with these 6 stories. And then from there, we can generate screenshots with AI, right? So the whole process was condensed to very short periods. And then we can iterate real fast based on, because the code can be quickly turned at any point for the app.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what are the other tools that you use to kind of experiment quickly and get some results? So maybe...
Yeah. So Adapt has been a wonderful partner in this because they can monitor the whole flow. You guys can do the whole flow. It's been amazing from Apple search ads, right from the front UA all the way down to the payroll. So we can check conversion rates. We can check onboarding conversion rates. We can check, the return on investment from the Apple search ads in real time. So it's been awesome to use all the Adapty tools to do this really fast and really and somewhat cost effective at this point to get to a spot where we can then invest.
Yeah, and you mentioned Claude Code. How much tokens, how much dollars spent you usually spend on testing one hypothesis? How expensive it is?
I mean, you look back. I've been in this so long. What we did with the Bible app probably would have taken 30, 40,000 in actual engineering dollars. Now it took $200 a month, right, in 24 hours, right? Literally, if you go to the app, you can see it. It took 24 hours. Our team had this thing done. We have it in the pipeline. We had screenshots done. Our UA team was on the way doing all the creatives with it. All of our description was generated. Everything was was done for us very fast. So we've really leaned into the AI for everything, and we're going to continue doing that with the next app we do or the next angle we do with this Bible.
Yeah. So for the guys who want to do it now, what's the best way to to do it? Are there any guardrails in terms of what you tell to Claude Code or any other specifics that should be in mind when you iterate on that?
Not really. I mean, obviously, you have to have a team that can and take a step back. I know a lot of people out there right now just when they validate pay with a proof of pay, they just get a Stripe paywall, right? I think you should go all the way to the paywall, right? You develop an app. There's no excuse now. Before maybe you could you get away with a web funnel or whatever, and see if proof of pay work. But now it's so easy to generate an app. There's no excuse. And with your tools, right, you can do paywalls in seconds, right? It's just amazing. So I think the time is so condensed now that you could just continue to pivot and find the right story, right? And and I saw today someone said, the bottlenecks are gone. Where was the bottlenecks in proof of pay, right? The bottlenecks were time, engineering, all that money. It's all the bottlenecks are gone. So you really should look at if you have an app and you're starting an app right now, you look at yourself in the mirror and say, have I done proof of pay, right? Have I got enough people to pay $5 for my app, right? And if the answer is no, I would, kind of go back and it'd go to that phase.
Yeah. But like once you found this niche, you start scaling. I'm actually curious, like how many of you are like in the starting phase of the application? So like you're doing less than $10,000 per month in revenue. Okay, so does it mean that the rest is doing more than 10,000 per month? Or okay, So I'm gonna cover a little bit about scaling the application. So Chris covered like how to find the working hypothesis first, but then once you increase your spending, you have to do it efficiently. And we see like a rising trend right now at Adapsia that instead of running real A/B tests on the customers, our users, they run A/B tests on AI generated personas, and this provides really great results. And I'm going to cover it a little bit. So when you run the real A/B test, it actually costs you money because the option which going to be the loser, it costs you the money because those customers will pay you less, whether it's paywall A/B testing or whether it's ad creative A/B testing. So the loser is always loses your money. So the thing that recently kind of started implementing is that it is possible to export the data from Meta or TikTok, export like clicks, export CPA, export all the like usual metrics that you monitor, then combine it with the data from your application. So if you use Adapsia, you can just export all the data with attribution. So and you're going to have different profiles, customers using different devices, customers from different countries, and you can build AI personas from this data. So normally you would have, let's say, 5 clusters based on the different countries and based on the behavior inside the application. Then you can just translate these clusters into pretty simple English prompts like, hey, this is this is a persona, this is a customer from the United States, 18 to 35 years old, and he was or she was very active in the application in the first 7 days, and they especially like this feature, and they generated that amount of revenue. So you would have like several personas like that. And then what you do is once you get these personas, you start applying them to your existing creatives, and you ask like, imagine you ask Claude or ChatGPT or any other LLM that you use to behave like this persona, and kind of on a scale from 0 to 100, predict like how likely you're gonna click on this creative, how likely you're gonna then make the purchase, and you get like results once again from 0 to 100. You run it like 1,000 times, and you get some distribution of results. And then because you run it on the existing ad campaigns, the one that you already got the results, you can compare how these predictions worked on the historical data, and then you can fine tune it like the prompts to be sure that it predicts the historical data the right way. And once you got into this point, you can start predicting, like you can start feeding the new creatives into this model and do the predictions there. And so this way, you start running experiments without like spending money on the real customers. And this allows you to save both time and money on experiments in the creatives. It's pretty cool thing.
Yeah. I mean, no one's really talking about what you're talking about, which I think is probably the next step is testing the creative before you test.
Yeah.
Right? It's absolutely amazing. And you guys have, 20,000 customers that you're trying to, you're increasing their revenue. So you have a lot of data, you have a lot of insight into, how this can be handled. But, what are some of the minimum thresholds for this type of testing?
So normally, I recommend having at least 5 to 10,000 installs over the last 40, maybe 60 days, because if you have less than that, there will be not enough data to create different buckets of users and then create personas based on that. Ideally, if you have at least 1,000 installs from several countries per day, this is when you can start like really seeing different results. And also like on the ad spending, if you have at least 30 to 50 different creatives over time, like usually when you run something on Meta, like they pick one or two winning creatives pretty fast, but you still have to see like a little bit of data on the losing creatives as well. Yeah. So like 30 to 50 creatives, and then roughly 1,000 installs per day, several countries. This is going to be enough for you to create personas and start iterating on them.
Yeah, and the feedback loop has got to be super important, like you said. Yeah. Like you got to tell the model about the failures and the successes, so it can learn over time. What to do. And so I guess what kind of tests can you run on this? We're talking about creative testing, paywall testing. Like what do you think is possible?
Yes. So currently we see like mostly creative testing, but then if you have enough data, if you have enough users inside the application, it's also possible to apply this approach to onboarding testing, paywall testing, pretty much the same way. So you have, and sometimes it's even easier because with creative, you have to connect attribution data with the users inside your application. And because of IDFA restrictions, because of challenges with attribution, it's not always possible. But inside the application, you always have enough like signals and metrics to see how these users behave inside the application. And so you can, once again, apply it to onboarding, to the paywall, and even like to the feature retention inside the application. So the more data you have inside, the more different angles you can test this way.
Is there any questions before our last final question? Go ahead.
We told you to generate screenshots.
Sorry, yeah. We use Flux. It's one of them. I don't know if you guys know Flux. Flux is a great way to iterate on your screenshots. ChatGPT just came out with their latest image gen, which is really good. It's way better than their last version. So those are ones that we plug in. You got to iterate. You got to play with it. You're not going to get a one-shot screen. You have to play with it and do different things. But you can get some really good screenshots out of those image gens.
Meta agents you use?
Sorry, say again.
Which agents do you use for Meta?
Agents? Oh, agency. Yeah, we use Admiral Media. They're over in Europe, and they're really a great group to work with right now. Kudos to them. I don't know if anybody else knows Admiral, but they've been around for a while. So yeah. So okay.
I just wonder, for the synthetic audiences, are those channel specific, or are those? If you could hear me, I was wondering if the synthetic audiences, are those channel specific, or as your channel mix changes, right? Do you need to sort of recalibrate in some way, right? Can you take insights when you sort of test the creative? Are you doing that? Can you apply those insights across channels, or are they very specific to a given one?
Yeah, so we just kind of started doing it 2 months ago. And to date, we were doing it channel specific. So it was Meta and TikTok only, like separately. Most of the results are similar. They're not the same, but they are like in the same bucket. So if you have enough data, I do recommend testing different channels separately. But I think like if you, and most of the times you start like with one channel, like doing your user acquisition, and then once it's successful, once it's scaled, you go into the second channel. So probably it's not going to be an issue. But if for some reason you have multiple channels, all of them are quite small, but if you combine the data, it's going to be enough. You can try it. I think it's going to be better than not doing it at all. But yeah, if you have an option to test them separately, that's the right way.
That leads me to our next question that I have for you, Kurt, is what kind of results? I'm sure everybody's hearing all this wonderful thing. You're like, oh man, wouldn't this be the best thing ever if I didn't have to spend so much money on testing? What kind of results are you seeing?
Yes. So we tested it with 4 applications, each making like spending at least $100K per month. So they have enough volume. on average, they get like these virtual personas predicted the winners 2 of the 3 times. So like about 65% of the winners, which is like really good result because they were saving tens of thousands of dollars on the losers. So it works. And like one of them is in the health and health industry. The other 2 are like utilities. So it works across the industries. And the results were really promising.
Yeah, and we were talking about. Go ahead. Yeah.
Hey, a question on the proof of purchase concept.
Yeah.
What is the sample size that you look for, the 15 to 20% conversion rate, to take a strong enough signal to go forward with an app?
Yes, it's a great question, and I have some slides and I can share some real data with you guys after the talk. But I compare them to one of our most successful apps, right? And we have a product mix. We have about a 7% conversion rate. We use 3 products. We use a lifetime at $49.99. We use a yearly at $39.99, and we use a monthly at $9.99. That app gets about 3,500 downloads a week at 7% conversion rate at a $40 LTV, which is about $800K in ARR, right? So that gives you the model, right? You talk about models to alter. So we kind of shoot for that. That's our North Star. So when we see an app, we have to get our app to that point. And then we say, okay, let's double down on this. Let's really invest in UA. Once we see those numbers get to that point, I hope that helps.
Time for one more question. No? Okay, if there's no more questions, then we will...
Yeah, and so if you'd like to, you can stop by. I have like a very detailed instruction on how to create virtual personas and how we in Adaptive can help you with the data and with the insights on what to test. So we can exchange details and you'll get like detailed instruction. Chris used it and it's a good one. Thank you.